right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Akila, and I'm an Associate Product Marketing Manager here at Sherweb, and I will be your host for today. Before I give it over to Guy and the team to get us started, I just wanted to cover a couple of housekeeping items. First, this webinar is being recorded, so you'll receive a link to the recording as well as the slides after the webinar in an email. And second, we do have the Q&A window and the chat. So if you do have any questions at any time during the webinar, please feel free to put it in either of those windows, and our experts will be sure to answer as we go. And I think that's it for housekeeping items. So I will hand it over now to Guy to get us started.
Thank you, Akila. Is the sound good? You hear me well? Yes,
Yeah,
thank you. All right, well, let's start by introducing myself. My name is Guy Sauvé. I'm Product Director at Sherweb, responsible for the white label Helpdesk portfolio, an exciting product we're going to talk about today. And my partners in crime are on the left corner, Matt Chanfarhani from our Business Development Sales Manager. Thanks for joining, Matt. Laverne, who's managing team in the NOC and has extensive experience in the help desk. And welcoming also Kirtan from my team as a product specialist. I want to mention that this session is meant to be interactive. This is not a just Guy presentation, so feel absolutely free to use those very knowledgeable people. If you have questions, use the chat, and they're monitoring that. You may have immediate feedback if we can, otherwise we'll make sure to get back to you. So this is a great opportunity also to interact regarding this content. Right, so let's go to the agenda. So what is it we're trying to accomplish today is really 4 things. So first, understanding and sharing our view with you and getting your feedback on challenges that you're facing to provide end user support in-house. Because I'm sure many of you are providing support in-house and are facing a number of challenges. We'll be talking about that. We'll be covering why potentially consider white label help desk service, and why consider Sherweb for that service, as well as talking about the NOC, which is frequently associated with the help desk. It's sold together in many cases. Customers see value in having both, so we're going to talk about it. Now, at the end of this presentation, we're hoping, if it's successful, that you'll be able to answer a couple of questions. One is white label for me as a managed service provider? And 2, what are the differentiators that Sherweb is providing in order to provide a seamless experience? And you'll hear that word seamless. I'll get back to it because that's the key to success in that business. All right. So before we talk about help desk per se, let me, I'm indulging myself with a quick advertisement that's 30 seconds max. So just some news regarding Sherweb in case you missed it. So first, we added quite a few products to our portfolio. We're very happy about that. And as you can see, there's a significant emphasis on security products. The market is red hot for security. You as a partner are asking for security products, and we're answering your call. If you have any of those or interest for any of those, feel free to reach out to us. If you're consuming those from a different distributors, well, feel free also to reach out to us and understand what would be the advantage of using Sherweb to acquire those or consume those products. We're also planning exciting new webinars. The first one actually has been done already very recently. The Microsoft webinar, you can see the video on YouTube, and it's answering essentially one question: is how is Microsoft helping you as a partner to seek new opportunities in a very targeted fashion? Which workloads or versions are reaching end of life into your customer base, giving you an opportunity to reach out to those customers and offer something as a replacement or extension or service or any of those services. So very surgical tool. I invite you to look at that video that's currently on our YouTube channel. Very hot topic, Copilot agents, right? Speaks for itself. We're going to have a session next week regarding growth with Azure. We have a lot of partners are starting their journey with Azure. Some of them are mature, but for those especially that are starting to build a significant Azure business, this is a great opportunity to understand how to move it to the next stage. That's next week. And next week as well is Performance Cloud. If you have yourself or customers that are having exciting moments, let's say, put it mildly, with Broadcom, Well, we're helping you to navigate those obstacles. And as well, we're going to be covering some security features regarding how to make your Performance Cloud and your VMware more secure. Okay, so that's my 30-second advertisement. Again, feel free to use the chat if you have any comments, questions, or you'd like to discuss any of those. If you haven't received the invitations, we'll make sure that you receive it. So back to Helpdesk and back to white label Helpdesk. What are the challenges faced by MSPs to provide end user support, and especially if you choose to do it in-house? Well, none in necessarily any order, but probably one of the first one that's commonly mentioned is the challenge supporting clients off hours. Many MSPs are rather small. Sometimes they're even, husband, wife shops or family or a handful of individuals. At some point, one wants to disconnect, right? You need your own personal time. Supporting clients off hours can be a challenge. And let's face it, many customers have needs for off-hours support. What's off-hours to start with, right? If you're on the East Coast, off-hours means probably anything but 8 to 5. But to cover West Coast, you need to add 3 hours on top of that. If, say, a client has a branch or opens a branch, makes an acquisition in California, suddenly 5 to 8 p.m. becomes on hours, and that means much longer days for support. We had a case of a client where their CEO traveled to Europe and wanted access to and couldn't have access to their environment. Well, it was off hours in America, but on hours in Europe, or maybe even weekend. And you can guess that the CEO wanting to access the environment is something that's quite important. So you don't necessarily have a lot of volume, but frequently those are quite important. That's one pain point. Another pain point is providing great and consistent performance. This is like being in an airport where 3 planes land at the same time, especially in Montreal where we don't have that big an airport. Suddenly the lineup at customs is going to be quite long, right? The business of end user support is completely unpredictable. It can spike up very, very quickly, and that becomes a challenge for in-house. If you only have a very, very small crew, well, maybe they're going to be busy serving customers, and suddenly the queue of customers that are trying to reach and get support can get very long, and the wait time is going to spike up very, very quickly. And you go through those peaks and valleys constantly, especially when you have a small in-house center. A third challenge is about scaling rapidly with business volume. You gain a customer, you lose a customer, your customer expands operation for seasonality, and suddenly the volume of calls grows very, very quickly. How do you scale up in a way that's scalable without necessarily hiring people or firing people? That's not easy. That's why scale matters when we're talking about a call center. And I'll get back to the calls. Obviously, we have more than just phone, right? We're talking about the omni-channel aspect, but I'm going to use the phone as an example frequently because that is still the most popular way for end clients to contact the help desk. Fourth aspect is the volume of level 1 tickets. And what's a level 1 ticket? These are more transactional tickets. These are tickets that about 90% of the time your first respondent, the person receiving the call or handling the chat or receiving the email should be able to answer 90 and close 90% of the time. That creates a lot of volume. It creates a lot of noise, but these are tasks that are not extremely high value added. Commonly, maybe as simple as reset a password, right? But the need is there. If someone cannot reset their password, needs a password reset at 8 a.m. and cannot get a service until noon, essentially that person might not be able to do much work during that period of time. A lot of those tickets, over 90%, are level 1, should be handled in the first line of support, but they are not extremely added value. You want your personnel to work on projects, to work on more difficult investigation with your client. So these are some of the challenges. And before we go further, let's have our first poll question regarding your main challenge for support of end user. The same 4 elements that I presented in the previous slide are listed there. And feel free also, if we miss something, you can choose other. And feel free, if you do choose other, to put in the chat what other really means for you, and we're going to take that into account. So maybe Akila, I'll let you proceed with the poll, number 1.
Perfect. You should all see a poll popping up. Just select the answer that most applies to you, and then we'll see what everyone votes.
So I'm guessing because I'm in presenter mode, probably I won't see it.
Yep.
Correct? Okay.
So
All right.
I can tell you the answer
So,
right now. We're sitting at 50% for scaling rapidly with business volume.
Okay.
And then 25% for both providing off-hour support and level 1 tickets, pulling you away from higher value work.
Okay. Let's give it a couple more, few more seconds. Any other so far?
No.
Okay, so probably means we did a good job understanding or documenting those challenges.
Oh, things are changing.
Oh, okay.
We have a 3-way tie now. Providing great and consistent performance is also second, and then scaling rapidly with business volume is still remaining the first main challenge.
Well, that's starting to start like electoral night, right? As we're moving to the West Coast, maybe the results are changing, right? Okay. Tell me at the point where it's going to reach stability and we'll carry on.
Yep, I think we're good to move on.
Okay. All right. So sounds from what I gathered that we correctly understood some of those 4 challenges do cover a lot of the actual use cases from our customers, right? Okay. Excellent. All right. So let's talk about white label support, and let's first talk about the concept before we talk more specifically about Sherweb. There's white label, and there's white label is provided by Sherweb. And again, the seamless point, which I'm going to hammer back with more specific example, what it means to be seamless. But first, white label provider, what is it we're providing is a seamless experience to the end user where the end client will not know that they're dealing with a partner of yours, i.e. Sherweb. And there are many ways that there are many things that need to be done in order to achieve that seamlessness. We'll get back to it. I want to point out, though, that this is not outsourcing. This is not a situation where the partner moves out of the way, right? And it has no more involvement. That's not the case. The use cases that we will see are really about integration. It's really about the 2 teams working together in a complementary fashion. And we're going to get into more details on that. So why consider white label Helpdesk provider? For all the good pain points and solving those pain points that we discussed about, first and foremost is to focus on core competencies, right? You want to have your resources on project delivery, on cloud migration, security, maybe on sales activities with your clients, and less on support, and especially less on level 1 help desk activities. The brand continuity is the part that relates to white labeling. You want a white labeling offering that is truly providing brand continuity, because you don't want your clients to figure out, like, has my support, has my partner decided to outsource and offload support? And we'll see that's not the case. You're still very much part of it, but in completely different fashion. Scalability. Your volume goes up or down, that's not a problem. We can scale up or down, and we do scale up and down every day, because the sum of our partners their volume is going up and down every day. So the bigger your capabilities, the more capable you become by partnering with a white label provider to run through those peaks and valleys without suffering. So who are we at Sherweb? Most of you know our business, but just as a quick reminder, at the very heart of what we do is Microsoft. Many partners are saying you're making Microsoft simpler, easier to consume, easier to understand. We're complementing that heart with different layers of services. The first layer is the marketplace. So that's where we provide many of those products that I showed earlier in the announcement regarding security, as an example, but also continuity and many other groups of products that you can see. The partner services are designed to extend your technical competence. White label Helpdesk is one of them. Professional services is one of them. So this is the construct of services that we are providing. With regard to Helpdesk, Helpdesk is not new for the company. Actually, Helpdesk services were provided not in a white label fashion, but as a support to the core services when the company launched into web hosting and then into Exchange. So this is something that's well understood by the company, which owners, by the way, are still very much involved in the business. So there's a lot of continuity over all of these decades. The volume of the entire business of Helpdesk, not just the white label one, is 500,000 tickets. And just the white label team is 50 agents based in North America. They're handling strictly the white label aspect, but there are agents handling other help desk services. They're not the white label category. So the pool of agents is significant. The knowledge is very, very significant. And the managers and individuals leverage that knowledge in the service of each other. So let's talk about seamless. Let's talk about feeling in-house, that in-house feeling. It's not happening by magic. There's science, there's technology behind it, so let's talk about it. And there's also corporate choices. The first one is having agents based in the US and Canada. That's probably the main differentiator in the market right now. The choice we're making is to operate this white label offering from the US and Canada. It's common sense with regard to why. Many, if not all of our partners require that. And they're much more comfortable with the language and communication style of agents based here in North America. Their end users, the person calling, the person interacting, frankly perceive onshore support as higher quality. And we don't want to generalize, but that's a perception that's quite common in the market. Many of our clients have compliance requirements. They're dealing, let's say, with the US government as an example. So they don't have an option. It's not an option. It needs to be based in North America. And just as a quick anecdote regarding the communication style and especially cultural is, I contacted the big hotel chain recently to rent a room. I was in the US renting a room in the US and I was quoted a price in Irish pounds. So that's the kind of sensitivity, right, that having local resources is just an example. And you can think, I'm sure everybody on this call has an experience where the person at the end of the phone, especially with the phone, because that's very, very common, that's where you have the most closest interaction, would ask you, for instance, well, what state is Miami in? Because I need to fill in a ticket. That kind of knowledge generally is better offered locally. Our agents represent your brand. So our agents, when they answer the call, they will do it with your brand. In the example here, that's a company that does not really exist, Springfield IT, I made it up, but that's that's representative of an actual calls that I listen to where the name of the MSP is mentioned. As in the example here, Springfield IT Helpdesk, how can I help you? What's happening behind the scene is every partner has a number, a dedicated telephone number, and that's related to our system. So when the call comes in, we know, our systems know essentially that this is coming from the client of a given partner, and through the pop-up screens, the agents know what partner it is and what welcome message to have. So the service really sounds and feels to the caller as you have your own help desk. Now, I do listen to many, many calls. We're going to talk about our QA processes. I've not had a single instance where the agent would share that they work for Sherweb. They are trained and they're monitored to ensure that they're basically representing your brand. Now, I've talked a lot about phone calls. We're really omni-channels. The phone calls is still very common. It's the majority of the tickets in our help desk are open through phone calls. But we do support chat and email. And same idea here regarding multiple channels, one brand, it is your brand. And you have an example here. If a client wants to start a chat, they need to go through a welcome screen. That welcome screen will put your brand into it. Same idea with emails. There's no such thing as support@sherweb.com. They will send an email to your help desk with your branding that will be forwarded to us. Now, what's most important beyond reaching an agent, having an agent have the proper welcome message or the right banner is really how the incident or request to the help desk will be handled. We maintain a unified and current knowledge base, and that's done primarily. Most of our partners are running IT Glue, so we are syncing our own with your instance through Glue Connect, which is the feature provided by the supplier to deliver that functionality. Our knowledge, because it's unique, every partner and to some extent every organization has different needs. You want things done differently. You may have a different tool stack, different technology stack. Everything is different. The challenge is about finding our way through that diversity. So that's how we do it. We are always syncing with your knowledge base. The example here is with IT Glue. We also support Hoodoo. Hoodoo has gained a lot of momentum lately. We support SyncMonkey, primarily IT Glue for most of our customers, but Hoodoo is gaining traction and is the same concept about syncing or maintaining unified and current knowledge base with your system.
And Guy, I'll just quickly jump in there really quick on the documentation side before we launch that poll. Good and up-to-date documentation can make or break an outsourcer, right? So some of the situations that I'll say, if a customer calls in and says my email's not working, but there's no documentation about what email service they're using, where the credentials are stored, how it's configured, the technician having to research that ahead of time can kind of break the facade of it being a fully white label service. That's why we put such a high stress on the documentation aspect of here. And during client onboarding, we actually will audit documentation for our clients to make sure we're not missing those pieces. And we'll also provide constructive feedback as we go through processes. If we're escalating to a client and it's because of a documentation deficiency, we'll highlight that. So I just wanted to add that in there of how vital it is that we have that quick access to information.
Fantastic. Thanks. Thanks for those clarifications. Poll question number 2, which aspect of the seamless experience matters most to you? Again, sort of same aspects that we just discussed or others, right? So the interaction, the agents being based in North America, using your processes, which I'm sure is going to be answered by a few. So Aquila, letting you quarterback this this poll here.
Yep, so right now we're sitting at 75% for having the white label provider use my processes and 25% for agents representing my brand when they interact with the client.
Excellent.
Give it a couple more seconds
Yep.
so people can get their
Indeed.
votes in.
Mm-hmm. Stable now?
Yep, I would say so.
Okay.
So 60% for the white label provider use my processes and 40% for agents representing my brand.
And thanks, Matt, for those clarifications. I think we're all aligned, right, of the importance of that. Excellent. All right, so let's talk about integration of systems to deliver that experience. Well, it's important to know that first clients can reach our help desk directly via the partner, and that is the most common way. So as I was explaining earlier, the partner plays a role, but that role in this example could be as simple as routing calls for different time of the day or the weekend to us, okay? Another aspect is the bi-directional nature of the ticketing. So there's no such thing as we have our own view of the tickets and you have a different view. Our systems are syncing. Okay. So the first thing to remember is you can activate our help desk in a white label fashion, having your client contact you and work out some integrations. We'll get a little more detail soon. The other way is to interact seamlessly with Sherweb. I mentioned earlier, through the phone, for instance, or the chat, or even the email, the end client can be exposed to the telephone number, the chat, or the email, and that email will be processed by a Sherweb agent in a white label fashion. In this case, the interaction will be essentially around the ticketing API so that you have the same view as we do with regard to the tickets. And speaking of tickets and bidirectional ticketing APIs, we support a lot of systems. You see them all here. We're adding also more systems. If you have a system that's not on this list, and we know there are new systems right now that are gaining momentum in the market, do not hesitate to reach us. Sometimes a simple API integration, and we have a development team that's responsible for that. But you see all of the main ones right now, like ConnectWise, Autotask, C2 is our own solution, and so on and so forth. So that's the concept here. We're interconnecting to whatever you support. Another aspect of what we do is leveraging your RMM to remotely access the end user desktop if that's required. It's not always required to access the desktop, but when it is, our process is to do it through your own RMM. Okay, and pretty much any RMM our team is trained on. Now we're going to talk about some use cases, and for this part, we'll have Matt will be sharing his experience, real life experience. So I know it says real world, but this is really real Sherweb world use cases because these are customers and cases of our existing customer base. So starting with use case number 1, Matt, I'd invite you to tell us a bit more about it.
Sure, absolutely. So we're going to go over 4 use cases today, but I want to say there's endless use cases for how we can fit into your support operation. So we're going to go over some of the more common ones. The first use case is supplemental help desk. So providing overflow support during peak hours, but also could be things like volume spikes caused due to a third-party vendor outage, or even availability issues with your staff if you have people that are out sick, for example. So in this case, because you as the MSP control essentially the tap or the ability to flow tickets to Sherweb Help Desk, you're picking and choosing when cases can come to us. When you don't have the capacity to do so, you can open up the floodgate and start sending those tickets over to us for processing.
Thank you. Use case number 2 is sort of correlated to that, right?
Absolutely. So this one is going to be after hours support. We all know sometimes we don't want to be sitting up at 3 in the morning answering support tickets or answering those calls. Because we do have a 24/7 option. After hours, you can set up the automation workflows in your PSA and send those tickets directly to us via the API. Essentially meaning you have 24/7 coverage. If something needs to be escalated to you, you get to define at what point and what times those escalations happen.
And I think, Matt, that doesn't stop in a model like that, the client to decide that, oh, I'm on vacation or my technician isn't there, to also it's 24/7, right? They can choose to do it off hours, but doesn't stop them on the given day to say, well, today I need help, right?
Exactly correct. And we all know sometimes large tech companies might have an outage. You might have a large influx of tickets, as I mentioned previously. So if you are set up with us for after hours, you still retain that ability to send us tickets in the day because you're 24/7.
Third case.
Perfect. So this one is an interesting case. So this is where all tickets are sent to us. We do have a process where you can essentially perform what's called a take back. So you're taking back a ticket. In this scenario, all tickets, regardless of client, regardless of type, are going to flow to us for help desk. We're going to answer them. But if you see a ticket that your technicians want to engage on, maybe there's an opportunity to upsell them with professional services or do some on-site work, you have the ability to, using your PSA, take that ticket back out of our board, meaning we won't respond to it. It's yours for the internal handling.
And just for additional clarification, Matt, I believe that the partners that are doing that, there's some kind of a timer where the tickets reach us and we don't immediately jump on them so that the partner has a bit of time in order to decide if they want to handle a given ticket for any reason. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So you have full control of when this tickets hit us. If you want to give it an internal, 10, 15 minutes to make sure before it heads to us for processing, you can definitely do so, or you can ad hoc based off of the engagement or the client.
Excellent. We have a fourth use case.
Yeah, absolutely. So because we're handling a tri-channel environment, so it's tickets via email or the API to your PSA, phone calls and chats, you can split the two. So you can have it where you and your teams are handling the phone calls and the live chats are handled by Sherweb. Because again, there's no restrictions on which of those three channels you can work. It's all integrated into your system. This can even be put into a hybrid model where you're handling phone calls during business hours. Right after business hours, we can take over phone calls, or we can do 24/7 of one of those three channels. There's really infinite ways in how you can engage with us. And that's the benefit of our business modeling, where we offer this as and we're going to touch on it later, offer this as a business hours or a 24/7 type engagement. You're choosing whether or not and when you can send those tickets to us.
Excellent. So that leads to our poll number 3. So regarding the use case that we just described, those 4 or others, again, this is not limitative. These are more common, but your use case might become our common use case pretty soon. So back to Akila to navigate us to that poll. Tell us who's in the ahead in the race.
So at 67%, we're seeing I'm looking for supplemental help for off-hour support.
Okay.
And then tied for second place, we're seeing I'm looking for a partner that will handle all my volume as well as other.
And it's a good point that all the volume is certainly absolutely a use case where the partner plays more of a specialized role, especially with regard to documentation itself, as Matt was mentioning. So the partner is never off the equation, is already a central part of the success of this integrated offering.
Yep. We also have one other as well. So whoever voted other, if you want to put your use case in the chat, that would be great for us to know.
Yeah, that'd be great. And we'll have a final poll, by the way, which is a very, very simple one. One question, one answer poll is if you'd like, and that's going to be toward the end, if you'd like have further conversation with our team, if you'd like to talk more about it, but that's going to come a bit later. So Akila, are we reached pretty much? Is the race? Yeah, okay, yeah. Perfect. Excellent. Thank you. So we need to go beyond the ticket. We talked a lot about tickets, but the offering is much more than handling tickets, although it's the very heart of it. So let's talk about the value-added services surrounding all of that. The onboarding, Matt touched on it, the importance of documentation. So we have a very mature onboarding process. This is only one slide out of a rather large document. But this is really about a 3-phase thing where we create the foundation, we configure and test, and then we move on to the final go live. And I'm not going to go through all these points, but really, again, this is really the importance of documentation as part of that, where you're going to have a whole lot of other things like the dedicated number that we talked about. All of these things we mentioned here, IT glue. Again, IT glue is our most common one, but now it can be, you have a Hoodoo version of that. So that's what the onboarding that we've done for years and years. That process is quite mature and ensures a smoother experience. I want to spend 1 minute on this slide. That's the time, the speed to answer. It's not a coincidence. Many outsourcers especially provide low-cost solutions out there. And that's probably the metric that is most important to better understand. A 1 minute speed to answer is not something that you get usually from, let's say, your favorite airline company, as an example. It's very easy to cut cost by providing, unfortunately, a higher speed to answer. An aggressive speed to answer, like 1 minute, you need a lot of agents in order to provide that, but that's absolutely essential. The client, the end client measures It's one of the elements that they measure most is how long did I wait, right? And we're complementing that with a couple of tools, one of them being the estimated wait time. I don't know if you're like me, but when you're waiting online and you do not have wait time, which will tell you, well, you have about 3 minutes to wait or something like that, you get a little irritated. That seems to be now commonplace. It should be in every call center out there. Unfortunately, it's not, but that's what we provide to help the client make the decision, right? Do they want to wait? How long are they going to wait? Maybe they have time to go get a coffee or something like that. The other one that's quite common is the option to call back. So offering that option, sometimes the customer might decide to take it, and then that will turn into a ticket for an outbound call, and we'll call back the client on your behalf. So these are tools that are improving considerably the experience of what it is to be waiting for your call to be answered. We provide detailed monthly reports. One of them, and you have a short extract at the bottom, is every ticket grouped for every organization and sorted by timestamp with information such as which was the ticket title. These are actual titles. We only change the names in there. The names are modified, but these are actual descriptions of tickets that we received. So you get that level of information, allow you really to understand the value of the help desk. On top of that, you have more aggregate reports on your volume of tickets, your billing, what was the SLO, what were the results. So a very important part of the offering is all of that envelope of reporting. We record all calls for QA, training, and compliance. Every call is recorded, and we record not only the voice of the agent, but also the interaction. What does the agent see on their screen? So you can imagine that this is important for training, for instance. Did they go to the right place to get the right information? Those recordings are made available to the partners upon request. If, for instance, a client might report a situation or something like that, we can always look and listen to what happened in order to have the exact same version of what happened. So training, QA, and compliance also, we have some clients that are requiring that for all sort of regulatory reasons, that the calls being kept for a period of time. We have also a designated customer experience representative for all of our partners. They're your interface, and they do things such as cadence call to review your business, your results periodically. That's what part of the offer as well. And the offer now regarding pricing is always something we'll discuss directly with you, but important to remember that the offer is price per user. You do not have considerations about, like, is my user having multiple devices? It's a price per user, makes it very, very simple under an unlimited ticket model. Now, I know if there are comments or questions at this point, because we'd like to pivot to the NOC, but I don't know if we have questions in the chat regarding Helpdesk. That'd be a great moment to handle at this point. Very clear so far? Okay, I'm assuming, okay, no questions so far. Very good, thank you. Okay, so let's talk about briefly about the NOC service. Well, just want to explain what the NOC does. Many partners are probably very familiar with that, but still, the pain points, I don't want to repeat the pain points, they're very, very similar for the help desk, right? Things like monthly patching generally does not require highly qualified individuals. So it's a great thing for the partners to let be done by Sherweb. It's something less that you have to worry about. And part of what we do is a pre-patch and post-patch report. So you see what should have been patched and what has been patched. So this is really allowing you to see the performance. But we also have a nice addition, which is a vulnerability scan that we run every month. And that scan goes beyond the patches. It will report, let's say, on H keys that should be set differently or different things like that. So it's really scanning your environment and providing a very exhaustive report that is really giving you a true vision of your security posture beyond the patches. And major element from the NOC is the 24/7 monitoring, that same 24/7 that's costing so much to staff. Actually, I didn't mention that earlier, but wanting to staff at 24/7, if you only want to do coverage without answering of any phone call or any alerts from a server and things like that, we're talking 5 to 6 full-time equivalent employees. If you account for vacation time, sick leaves, training, and things like that, it's enormously costly. And even large companies are struggling with costs of 24/7 monitoring. So it's not easy, and it's costly, and it's difficult for MSPs. So the same concept for Helpdesk applies for NOC. We monitor 24/7. We have people on staff 24/7, and it means that you get alerts if something happens on a 24/7 basis. So you can sleep sound, not have to worry about watching your screens or anything like that. There are eyes on your environment. That's it for the NOC. I believe this is a point, Aquila, where we have maybe Q&A, and I don't know if you want to share this final poll about people wanting to reach out. Back to you.
I will launch the poll now. If you guys have any questions for our team, feel free to put them in the chat or the Q&A window, and we can address them now. And if you'd like to hear more from our sales team and learn more about our Helpdesk and NOC services, just fill out this poll for us, and we will be sure to circle back with you.
And we do have one question that just came in, Guy. It's asking if we have an integration with the ConnectWise PSA system.
Yep, actually we do. So that's one of the lists, and I know that their logo, it's not absolutely obvious if it's ConnectWise, so it is, and it is part of our service description that's on the web as well. So absolutely 100% yes, we do have, and I believe it may be the most common one that we have without a task. Maybe they're competing, maybe we should have a poll between the two. But yeah, 100% ConnectWise is one of the platforms that we support.
Perfect. And one more that just came in. Can you share some rough pricing information?
This will be part of the conversation afterwards, so I'll let you, maybe Matt, reach out to that that person. But yeah, absolutely we can. But that's something we work out outside of the scope of this webinar.
Absolutely. So to the individual that asked that question, I'll reach out to you after this call. We can discuss. There's many factors that can impact pricing.
Yep. Yep. So as I don't see the poll, keep me informed. Aquila, has that been? Did you publish it already?
Yep, the poll's been published, and we've gotten a few responses, so I think it's stabled out now.
Okay, excellent. Okay, thanks. So for those that wish to be reached out, I'm assuming Matt or maybe one of your colleagues, Matt, will be doing that, but most likely Matt. So thanks. If there are no other questions, I think we can conclude by thanking all the participants for their time, and all of my partners in crime. Many thanks for attending today. Any final questions or thoughts? Okay. All right. So thanks again for your time, and hope that we will be talking to you soon. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Cheers.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.